Hi, I'm Sunny Widerman from Personal Tax Advisors, and I'm going to talk to you today about what to do when you get a demand to file letter from the Canada Revenue Agency. So you may have received a letter that looks a little like this, and it says that CRA is demanding that you file an income tax return for a given tax year, or sometimes for several years. This is called a demand letter. Good name. But what do you do about it? I mean, obviously they want you to file a return, but people have a lot of questions about this letter and what it means sort of in the broader context of your taxes. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Just a little note, if you are enjoying these videos, if you get a lot out of them or get anything out of them, please like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell, and please tell people about them, because I'm trying to get as many people demystified about the Canadian tax system as possible. So the more people who know about it, the more people can benefit from what I have to say here. But let's talk about demand letters. Nobody likes to receive any brown envelopes from the Canada Revenue Agency, but in the particular, what is a demand letter? What makes you receive one? Now, the obvious reason is that a return has not been filed, but you can sometimes go for years not filing returns and not get a demand letter. The main reason that you get a demand letter is two things. One is that you have not filed the return. The other one is that the Canada Revenue Agency may think that you owe them tax. They can't be sure until they get a return from you, or they'll make one up themselves, but basically they think that you may owe them some money. Otherwise they wouldn't be asking for the return. So unless there's something you know that the Canada Revenue Agency doesn't know, which is possible because you haven't filed a return, so they don't know anything. But generally, if you're getting a demand letter, it's safe to assume that you are probably going to owe some tax. But that is separate from, are you in trouble? Am I in trouble? Well, not exactly. A demand to file is really a demand for information. So the Canada Revenue Agency at this point is trying to get you to give them the information they're asking for without them having to go any further. So without them having to flex their muscles, so to speak, they're just sending a letter at this point. They are just asking. So in this moment, yes, there's something the Canada Revenue Agency wants from you, but you're not necessarily in trouble. For most people, the vast majority of people who do get a demand letter, the worst trouble that they're in is that they do owe some income tax. But that's separate from being in trouble with the Canada Revenue Agency. So no, getting a demand letter does not mean you're in trouble. The question, as I said, are you going to owe tax? Well, yeah, probably. Now, the kind of situation where you wouldn't owe tax is where, for example, the Canada Revenue Agency can see that you earn some money because they get copies of all your slips, so maybe you have some T4s, some T4As, but they may not know, particularly on the self-employment side, you may have a loss on self-employment. So your self-employment, they have the slip showing how much money you collected, but they don't have any idea how much you spent to make that money. If the amount of money that you spent exceeds the amount of money that you collected, you have a loss over there. And if you have a loss on the self-employment side, there's a decent chance that you don't actually owe any tax. So what the Canada Revenue Agency has on file for you already, which is your income from your slips, is not the whole picture. And in that case, if the rest of the picture is that you didn't really make any money and you don't owe any tax, that's what you're going to prove when you file your income tax return. So in that kind of situation, no, you don't owe money. But most of the time, if that's not the case, if you don't have a business loss that is sort of overwhelming the amount of income that you earned that they happen to know about, then yeah, you are going to owe some income tax. What do you do? So the simple answer is you file an income tax return. This is what they're asking for, and they are not actually going to give up asking. What will happen if you don't file that income tax now that they're asking? They're going to ask again, usually, and then if they ask a few times and you don't file anything, what they'll do is they're going to just file something for you. They're going to take, as I said, all that income that they know that you earned because they have all your slips. They're going to file a tax return with what they know. And they will not file a return that is necessarily true because they don't actually have all the information. And they're not necessarily going to file the return that is the most advantageous to you. Now, that is for two reasons. One is because they may not know everything that you know that you could file. For example, you may have RSP contributions they don't know about, or like I said, a business loss that they don't know about. There could be some factors that they don't know anything about. So what they file is not necessarily going to be accurate. But the other reason that it may not be accurate is because they're not going to try, right? If there's a possibility, for example, maybe they do know that you have RRSP contributions, but it's up to the taxpayer to say that they're going to apply those RRSP contributions to try to bring down tax, because you also have the option to just carry them forward and use them in another year. Canada Revenue Agency will not assume that you're going to use all those deductions that are available to you, that you may have a different plan. They don't know. You didn't file a return, so they're going to make up a plan for you, and that plan is not going to include a full deduction of those RSP contributions. So what are you going to do to get a fair return if the Canada Revenue Agency has already created a return for you, which we call a notional return? Well, the thing that you're going to do is file your version. I will say that when you file your version, the Canada Revenue Agency typically will accept that version with really no questions asked, and they'll override their version, because their purpose in creating a notional return for you is not to have the final word. Their intention is to get you to file the real thing. So they will not resist. If you file a return and you're saying that, yes, I do have those RSP contributions and I want to take that full deduction, or yes, I have some expenses with my business that you don't know about and that's brought my taxes down or even brought it into a refund situation, you can do that by filing your own return, and the fact that your version is better than theirs is not automatically a reason for suspicion. In fact, it's what they expect. So go ahead and file that return and get a better tax picture than they're going to leave you with if you just let it lie. Assuming that you've gotten a demand letter, the demand letter will usually give you a deadline of sorts. It'll usually say, we'd like to see this return within 30 days of the date of this letter. So you look at the date of the letter, you add 30 days, that's when they want it. I will say there is a little bit of wiggle room in there. I'm not going to make you any promises, but there is a little bit of wiggle room. If you're a couple of days over, it's not going to be a problem. Now, if you are okay, you've decided you want to file this return, you're going to do it, but it's taking you some time and you're just not going to make that 30-day deadline, do not panic. You actually can get extra time, and it's pretty straightforward. You're going to call the person who sent the letter. Their phone number, their name and the phone number will be in the letter, and you're going to ask for more time. Now, it varies from agent to agent, and frankly, it kind of varies from year to year, but my experience having done this job for 20 years is that for the most part, when you call the Canada Revenue Agency and say, I got your letter, I want to comply, but I need more time, they give it to you. And even if you have to move the data a couple of times because it's stretching out a little bit, you do have a little bit of room. You know, when you're in conversation, when you've got a dialogue going with an agent, generally they're going to be a little more forgiving if you can't quite make it to the second when they wanted things. So you have to keep those lines of communication open, but once they are open, you can ask for more time, and most of the time you're going to get it. So I do hope that this video has helped demystify the Canadian tax system for you a little bit and give you a little bit of insight and a little bit of perspective on that demand letter that you may have received. I hope that you will decide to file a return, because it's really important and it will save a lot of hassle later on down the road. It's not like no return will ever get filed, because like I said, if you don't file it, they're going to do it for you. So please file that return. If this video has helped you out, if it's like lowered your blood pressure a little bit, or at least given you a little bit of perspective, please like, subscribe, and pass it on so other people can learn more about the Canadian tax system as well. If you think that somebody else you know may have received one of these letters and they need a little bit of roundabout knowledge to figure out what to do next, please send it along. This has been Sunny Weiderman from Personal Tax Advisors with another tax tip, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.